Hey everybody, welcome to a very special episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is my 45th birthday celebration. Are you excited, Professor Aubrey?
I am so excited for your 45th birthday celebration.
Yeah, and what we are doing first here, we're doing kind of a travel log, and the goal here is to have a really fun weekend in Seattle, but on the way there, we have stopped by Olympia, Washington, and we are in front of sacred ground, I think.
That's right. We're at 114 Pear Street.
And people are asking, why is that important? Because in 1990 and 91, a gentleman by the name of Kurt Cobain lived here and wrote a majority of Nirvana's biggest hits, including Smells Like Teen Spirit, at this apartment building.
That's right. It looks like it has 3 apartments in it.
Yeah, apparently, according to the article that I read, Kurt Cobain lived in units 2 and 3. So he obviously moved a couple times.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and then what we're doing right now, it's right across the street from a Washington lottery building, and apparently, according to that article as well, Kurt and Dave Grohl used to take a BB gun in the parking lot here and shoot the building.
Nice.
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to start off with that is just like, this is just a simple, ordinary house, but music that changed the world came from just a simple, ordinary house. And when he wrote it, I'm sure he didn't think it would reach the heights that it ultimately did. And
he was just expressing himself like any artist, he was just getting it out of him.
And yeah, by doing that, he ultimately, touched a lot of lives. So the fact that, like the teenager in me that saw the video for Smells Like Teen Spirit all the way back in '92 and was completely blown away by this, would absolutely love being able to be here today. I don't even know if the people living in this building are aware of the history.
Yeah, there's a similar, there's the Goonies were filmed in Astoria, Oregon, on the coast, and there's the Goonies house that was in the movie, and so lots and lots of people go there and pay homage to that movie. I wonder if it's the same kind of thing here, or if nobody really knows about it. It would be interesting to know. Yeah,
it would be. I mean, we can get back in the car. I'm sure that people are wondering, like, a little chilly in Washington, yeah, and I'm sure that people are like, why do they have those people talking into their phone in our front yard, man? But we wanted to just pay our respects here because, for obvious reasons, Nirvana, they're the last big rock band that we probably will ever see that reached the heights that they did. And for my 41st birthday, wanted to stop by. So like our regular travel log shows, we're going to be bouncing in and out here. It's not going to be one continuous recording like our Saturday episode. So kick back, relax, enjoy this brief musical interlude, and then you'll hear us rambling again. All right, we are back. We are in a vehicle trying to escape a state park in Tacoma, Washington. We had to take a quick bathroom break and had to go buy some lovely, oh wait, there's some geese, but we had to go to a lovely porta potty to do that.
We did. I think there are better bathrooms here at this park, which is a lovely park. We just couldn't find them.
Left, then turn right onto South 312th Street.
That's our bossy map right there. We are about a half hour away from reaching Seattle. Definitely excited about that. Shut up. The plan when we're going to be up there is mostly sightseeing. Our big goal is to go to the Museum of Pop Culture,
also known as Mo-Pop.
Like that. So, yeah, and then, so, like I mentioned, interspersed between, we'll be talking about my birthday and stuff, but, and also growing old, because as we record this, it is a day before my big 45.
The big 4-5. Do you feel like things are going to change because of this birthday?
No, but I mean, like, the older you get, like, the more you realize that you are 1 year closer to death, you know?
Yeah, and the quicker the previous year goes by, right? It's like things seem like they'll last forever when you're younger, and then as you get older, you're like, wait a minute, summer just started. What is going on?
Yeah, stop, please, you know? Like, because honestly, it really just feels like yesterday that we moved into our apartment.
Which has been more than a year ago.
Yeah, and that's definitely the weird part about time that, you know, I notice. Like, yeah, like when you're a kid going through school, those 8 months that you're in school before summer break, or we got a green. But sorry, that's another part about me being a passenger. I do that too much anyway. But when you're a kid in school and you're, you know, going through school and it's boring, it feels like 1 minute feels like 10.
Yeah.
You know, 1 hour feels like 10, you know, 10 hours and stuff like that. But yeah, now it's like the good times happen, and just before you know it, oh, that took 3 years.
Right, or like, oh, I remember that just happened, or I just did that. But no, it really was a long time ago.
Yeah, now, what were you doing on your big 45?
So that was 2 years ago?
Yep.
So that would have been May.
Yeah, 2019, we hadn't met yet.
June, July, August, September, October. I feel like I was about to go to Europe, for a little vacation that I took that summer, and I was living in Vancouver in a big mid-century house, and mostly I had a roommate. Yeah, just normal life.
Normal life, yeah. Yes. So, I mean, and you definitely had some great adventures in Europe during that time, and we're going to have some great adventures this week. I am really, really excited about Mopop more than anything.
Yes, me too.
Now, you've been there before, right?
I have 3 times.
All right, what would you say is your favorite exhibit there?
I really like the rooms that you can go in and play musical instruments, and I really like the you can record like with your own band playing instruments, but they somehow make you sound like you're doing good, and you make a music video.
Yeah, a big problem with that, though, is that during the pandemic, that part of the museum is closed.
Oh, really? The play with the instruments? Anything where you have to touch stuff, I guess.
Interactive. I mean, and it makes sense. I checked their website before we arrived. I mean, that definitely would have been cool. But seeing a lot of the movie memorabilia, like being able to see Dorothy's dress. You know, going back in our archives, we had our episode on The Wizard of Oz. So kind of being able to see what Judy Garland had to wedge herself into every day to film that movie will definitely be interesting.
Absolutely. And there's other cool stuff from other cool movies, and they have a fantasy and sci-fi section that is really cool. Also, the traveling exhibit that is currently on display is the magic of Disney through costuming, and so there'll be lots and lots of Disney related costumes.
Can you go further in the carpool lane, jack off? My goodness. Some old guy in a BMW SUV just shouldn't be driving, should have his license taken away and be put in a home, but he is driving.
He's got a handicap sticker too.
I'm driving. Oh, it's like that South Park episode. The more you drive, the crankier you get, and just like most of our drive up here was like, fuck you. But we're like I mentioned, we are slowly getting there. We're about a half hour away, I should say, depending on traffic, give or take, to arriving to our hotel. And then from there, once we get in, what did you have planned for tonight? What were we going to do? I mean, obviously eat.
Right, and that's probably like our big organizing principle. So once we get to the hotel and dump our stuff and sort of check that out, I thought we could try to figure out where we might eat and make our way there, maybe on foot or using public transportation. We could also walk down to Pike Place or walk over to Jack London Square and sort of look at Seattle sort of city center.
Nice, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely something I would want to do. But yeah, just, all right, like I said, I'm excited. This is first time in Seattle for me, even though I've lived close by it now for almost 6 years, over 6 years now. So getting a chance to visit the sites. And there's also a couple sites I want to check out too in Seattle that are Nirvana related, going back to how we opened the show, going to Kurt Cobain's old apartment. You know, it'd be cool to kind of see maybe some of the sites. I guess there's a park there called Verletta Park or something like that he used to go to often to, you know, like just think, and ended up writing some songs there too. So I'm definitely excited, and also too, it'd be cool to see where like the Mariners play, because that's where WrestleMania 19 was held, Steve Austin's last match.
I see. Well, we can definitely check out the Seattle, what do they call it?
The sports ball stadium? I don't know.
The sports ball stadium. We could definitely look at it with our eyeballs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go inside or anything like that. I mean, it'll be. Yeah, I'm definitely excited. So let's do this. We're almost there. Let's cut to a musical interlude, and when we pick up, it will be later in time. All right, we are back, and we are checked into our hotel room at the moment. Hotel with an H. fancy place. And got some free Cheez-Its here. We got some coffee we can make in the morning, and a nice GE microwave to cook the Cheez-Its in, apparently.
Yeah, that's all you need. It's the smallest microwave I've ever seen. It's also the smallest coffee maker I've ever seen, and the freest bag of Cheez-Its I've ever seen.
Yeah, so there are about 3 in there. But we are officially in Seattle at the moment. We are on the second floor, so not too big. But one thing I noticed that really kind of pissed me off is that, like, right outside their window, there is a light, a street light. And on top of that, they put damn spikes on there so the birds don't have a place to rest. I mean, how ridiculous is that?
That's pretty ridiculous. They do it in Portland too. It just never happened to be at this
level.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the birds are too homeless, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, I can understand maybe if there was so much bird population here that, you know, it would like litter the ground, like a guano pit or something, like guano pit. But there, come on, we're talking pigeons here. It cannot have been that bad that it really justified that. This is just,
cities hate pigeons. One of my book ideas is to write a book about pigeons, the natural history of the pigeon. Because I think they're fascinating, and in different countries they look different, but they're always these urban city birds, and they've just really well adapted to living in cities.
And you gotta think too, like, push comes to shove, they do look like beefy little things. Like if like
a rat versus a pigeon, I don't know who would win.
But you would eat a rat?
I wouldn't eat a pigeon or a rat. I meant if they were in a fight.
Oh, in a fight. I was talking about eating. You know, like, how homeless were you, Tim?
Have to eat the pigeons.
Come here. No. But no, that did really annoy me. But there is also a pretty cool dog park across the street where Seattle folks are doing their business with their dogs. But we are going to be taking a walking tour here soon to get some food.
That's right, we are. We're going to have the best burgers in Seattle, and we're going to go see the REI mothership.
Yes, because thanks to the United States Postal Service, your raincoat arrived after we left for Seattle.
That's right. Just right after we left for Seattle. And, of course, it is raining here.
Yes, by rain, at the moment, it's just more of a little drizzle, so it's actually, the type of rain I like, the rain that annoys me is the rain that, like, it's so hard that it, like, soaks through, even if you have, like, weatherproof stuff, you know? Mm-hmm. But, yeah, we're going to be doing some walking, talking, and then, going from there. But we wanted to give you a quick check-in. Anything you wanted to say before we cut to the musical interlude?
Well, as we drove into Seattle, it was absolutely gorgeous to see the city. It's been a while since I've seen the city skyline. And I always forget how much bigger Seattle is than Portland, but it's actually Seattle that I came to first before I ever went to Portland. And so it was always my sort of first love of places I thought about living. But it's just never worked out that I've lived here. But I love Seattle.
I would definitely, if, like, I had the money, because, like, Portland is bad enough to live in. Seattle would, price us both out, and that's not even taking into account my horrible credit, So, the show would have to hit big, I'd have to sell a book, a lot of stuff would have to happen for that move to occur, but it
would be cool if it did.
It did. Because overall it is a nice town, and I do like, they do have a much better public transit system than Portland, and that is saying something. And, the fact that you got so much here, whether it be, like major companies or, sporting events. We drove by the place where the Seattle Mariners play, but for wrestling fans, of course, they're going to know that more as the home of WrestleMania 19 and where the Royal Rumble was supposed to be this past year.
And did you plan on coming to it?
Well, like, if there was no pandemic and the Royal Rumble occurred, that would have been cool to come for, because that would probably, Royal Rumble and WrestleMania would probably be like the last live WWE events I would really want to see, just to say I've been to one. But who knows? But yeah, so much history here, but yeah.
Yeah, so many cool things to see and do, so let's get going.
Let's do it. Let's kick back, and we are going to leave, but we're going to cut to musical interlude, so hang tight. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. As we record this, it is Saturday, September 18th. 45 years ago on this date, Lily Tomlin was hosting Saturday Night Live, and a momentous occurrence in human history occurred in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This tall son of a bitch was born. So we're here. It is morning, and the professor is looking at exact maps to lead us to Mopop.
That's right, I've just found the way. We now know the way.
The way, all right. So we are heading in that direction. You can probably hear all the background noise going on here in the lovely city of Seattle. But since the last time you've been here, do you notice any major changes?
Absolutely. There's lots more development. We're right here in the middle of Antioch University, actually, which I've been to before because my friend taught there, but there's a lot of development in this part of town.
Okay, cool. And I definitely love I love the presence of public transit. A town that has a good public transit is one that really does take the time to have services available for the rich and the poor, Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's a shame that more cities don't take time to invest in that, because I think if they did invest in their public transit, that investment would benefit the city tenfold, if not more, in terms of the revenue that could occur because people have more flexibility.
Absolutely. I think that people getting to work and also to the store and all of those things, they didn't need cars for that. That's huge expense that you don't have to maintain.
Yeah, and not everybody has the cash to get a decent car, or if they do, to properly maintain it at all times. That's why I gave up focusing on a car, really, because, with my credit, the way it is, there was not going to be a chance where I was going to have something resembling a reasonable car. So, being able to walk, I think, and being able to live in a city with good public transit has definitely been a good trade-off.
Absolutely.
Yes, so we are walking, as I mentioned, to the Museum of Pop Culture. When we get in there, we're going to have you join along with us.
Absolutely.
That will...
All I can say is absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll just have it on loop. I just talk and then ask for.
I just say absolutely.
Yeah, but
you love it.
Oh, we were taking a right. All right, all these. This is like Portland, but like Portland grown a petri dish, and you let to grow longer.
No, it's more that there's more money up here, so there are more corporate headquarters and more like fabulously wealthy people. As we walk down the street that has nothing but Audis parked on it. It's different from Portland in that way. Like, we don't have rich people like Seattle has rich people.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the two evil empires that are based up here, both Amazon and, actually three, Amazon, Microsoft, and Starbucks.
That's right.
Yeah, and us in Portland, we get lowly old Nike.
And Columbia Sportswear.
Well, I don't know if they have as big of a brand recognition as Nike, though. He says as he wears a Columbia Sportswear check.
They absolutely don't, but they're the second biggest company with its headquarters in Portland.
Gotcha.
World headquarters.
Yeah, so... All right, so we are... Do we know where it's at? I mean, is it within sight here? Or?
No, it's not within sight. We're not close to it yet.
Okay. As you can tell, I'm a little anxious here, but...
We need to go that way.
Okay. Can we cross first and go that?
Okay.
Yeah. People. All right.
What's different in Seattle? There's people everywhere.
Yes.
In downtown Portland, there are no people because nobody is going there.
Yeah. But, all right, let's do this. We will cut to a quick musical interlude. I will have more to say at the Museum of Pop Culture, obviously, so hang tight. All right, we are inside Mopop, and we are entering the Sci-Fi Hall of Fame. Oh, nice. We got Mulder and Scully's badges. She was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Wow.
Went to the same community college I did.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. And we got a head here. I don't know if this was used on set or anything like that. I assume it was. And we got the Tron outfit.
That's the Tron costume.
Yeah, like most of Tron. Everybody thinks Tron from 82 was like this big computer thing, but it was shot in black and white, and essentially they animated over the outfits to make it look like they did.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so we have Jack Vance. I am not familiar with him. We have a manuscript that he typed up, so... Oh my goodness. Leonard Nimoy's original... I think this is from the first pilot.
Really? Yeah, look at it. The tunic.
In a different Starfleet Fleet logo.
Yeah?
Uh-oh. Wow. Oh, get pictures. For you, take pictures. But we are looking at the exhibit commemorating Steven Spielberg, and it looks like we have... I don't know, is this legit or...
It has to be.
It has to be legit, yeah. But we have Indiana Jones' hat and the staff that he used to find the Ark of the Covenant.
Staff of Ra.
Yeah. Okay. We do have a Stan Lee one over here.
Iron Man's headpiece.
Yes, so it looks like... Again, I'm not sure if this was actually... Yeah, it was. Stunt helmet for the film Iron Man. We're looking at one of Iron Man's helmets here.
Wow.
So let me head back here. Yeah, so this is the leather jacket he wore on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And look it over here. Look it over here. Luke Skywalker's hand and his lightsaber from The Empire Strikes Back. Picture, picture, picture. That is awesome.
That is amazing. I never would expect to see the severed hand. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's head back over here for a second. Okay. I just wanted to double check on that, but yeah, so far so good. What is this? From Lost in Space. Bill Mummy, the guy who wrote Fish Heads. He was one of the Barnes and Barnes, did the song Fish Heads. He did Fish Heads. But he was also on Lost in Space. He was Will Robinson. And
Will Robinson. Hey, Will Robinson.
And the reason John Williams is here is that John Williams did the score for that show. When he was Johnny Williams. Dr. Zayas. Picture. We need a picture. This is awesome. Yeah, we got a tribute to Rod Serling here, who wrote Planet of the Apes movies, and we have their prosthetic makeup for Dr. Zayas. We have a sword as used in the Lord of the Rings movies. Yes, this was used in Return of the King, used by one of the 9 ring wraiths. So it's a ring wraith sword. What do you think so far?
It's pretty interesting.
All right. We have... Okay, we have... This is the Jules Verne, obviously big-time author, but we're looking at a coat worn by one of the cast members, James Mason, from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Which is a great coat from 1954.
Yes. And what else we got? We got some Dune exhibits. We got Matrix exhibits. Want to get a close-up look at if we can. Uh-oh. Looking now at the shooting script for Alien, Ridley Scott. And right next to that is the exhibit for Philip K. Dick, and we have an outfit worn by Sean Young in the film. Where is Aubrey? We got prosthetic from the Matrix.
Yeah, that's so creepy.
Yeah. Can you take a shot of this? Okay. Cool. This is the shooting script for Alien.
Oh, wow.
Take a picture. Yep. All right, let's exit out of here.
Okay.
Did you get a picture of Dr. Zayas?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Oh, wait. Isaac Asimov's typewriter. Yeah, Isaac, he wrote iRobot on this electric typewriter. Nice. That was cool. Head this way next, but that was fun to see.
Yeah, that was cool.
All right. Oh. Got a theater in here, and they're playing Unplugged by Nirvana.
Let's check it out. Let's take a break.
Yeah. All right, we'll cut to musical interlude. All right, we are back. We are out of Mopop. As you may have surmised when we had the recording going on, there was a lot of activity in that building. And we figured after the previous little thing you heard that you probably didn't want to hear us go, oh, cool, look at that. Oh, cool, look at that for, however long. So we will have a bunch of pictures up on all of our social media platforms about that. But overall, I think it was a wonderful time. It was great seeing so much living history of the 20th century in person.
Absolutely. It really was great to see just all of the creative energy that went into creating all of the things that we saw. And it was so diverse. And you just think about the people behind, say, a single costume and how much work went into that and how much human creativity, because they just come up with that stuff out of their brains. And then it becomes part of our collective consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, like, the fun part about seeing stuff like this, like the Nirvana and Pearl Jam exhibits, for instance, was the whole demystification of musical genius. What do I mean by that? They're average people. They're normal people. They just happen to write songs that touched people. That doesn't make them...
And somehow got heard at the right time, in the right place. And they somehow were completely emotionally available for that to happen. It's just like every good thing that happens in life, you can trace it back through so many different choices and just shit that happened.
Yeah, and I think ultimately the thing that stuck with me more than anything was just remembering that these were people that, like Kurt Cobain, Eddie Vedder probably had 9-to-5 jobs when...
They probably had really crappy jobs, and they were probably miserable.
Yeah, they just were average, but they kept plugging away. And that was, I think,
tours, right? People who have something inside of them that must come out regardless.
Yeah, they were able to, in the case of Nirvana and Pearl Jam, of course, able to take that to, platinum selling albums, world tours, MTV, all that stuff. But that wasn't their goal. Their goal was to just put that music out to the world, and they did. And, for them, it ultimately, they reaped the benefits many times over, but you don't create for the financial benefits.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so clear with people like Kurt. It wasn't the financial success he experienced really had very little effect on his internal life.
If anything, it probably made his life a lot worse,
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that is Mopop. So Mopop was definitely fun, but, we'll kick to another musical interlude, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, we are finally back in a vehicle, not surrounded by the entire city of Seattle, wanting to be as close to us as physically possible. That is the weird thing about Seattle. There are a lot of people, and they don't know the meaning of personal space. So it's like, just a lot of... with my anxiety the way it is, a lot of big-time crowd situations, especially since the pandemic started, have been a little high in the anxiety list. And when you have that large amount of people in anywhere, it just makes me go cuckoo bananas, let's put it that way. But like I said, we're in a vehicle. We are traveling to our next destination, and this destination, once I found out it was in Seattle, it was non-negotiable. I had to go here. We found the house that Kurt Cobain lived in for his final days, and that is, to me, that's like a pilgrimage. For the impact that he had on me. I mean, like, for our age, even if you didn't like Nirvana had an impact on our lives.
Absolutely. Nirvana was the soundtrack of my high school days, for absolutely sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll not try and proclaim that I'm the biggest Nirvana fan in the world, but I mean, how can you not like, their singles at the very least? I mean, Smells Like Teen Spirit was big for a reason, and the big reason was that it was a palate cleanser from the pre-processed music that we had at that particular time, whether it be pop, whether it be rock. Everything was too crisp, too clean, too perfect. And then Nirvana came along with a bunch of cheerleaders with tattoos and just kicked just turned the whole music world upside down. So
if you think about what was happening before then, we had Prince, who was the late 80s, was active during that time. Who else was really sort of mainstream?
In the late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had, of course, the hard rock I love, the hard rock and hair metal were big. So you have your Motley Crues, you have your Def Leppards, groups like that. Of course, in pop, you had your Madonnas. Late 80s, Cyndi Lauper was definitely on the lower end, but she still had a couple of hits. And then, of course, Michael Jackson.
Candy floss pop. And then here comes Nirvana with this edgy sound that no one had heard before.
Yeah, it was completely different. I mean, the Smells Like Teen Spirit video blew me away the first time I saw it.
Yeah, me too. I remember just standing in front of the TV just with my mouth open.
Same here.
I was like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, my jaw literally dropped when I saw that because, again, even the videos were processed. They were and that's not to knock the music in the music videos from that era, but it is a fact that the music industry at times, when they exert too much control and try to change the will of the people on their own and not let the people determine what is good music and what isn't, things start getting bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we are, like I mentioned, going to be heading to the house. We are driving there right now. I'll start. I mean, the news that he, killed himself came out a couple days later. He killed himself on April 8th of 1994, and 2 days later, I think, is when he was found, and it was alerted to the world. Now, in Grand Rapids at the time, that was junior in high school, and I had gotten home from school that day. It was a weekday, and I liked to have the local NBC station, Wood TV8. They had a TV show, a new show called Live at 5:30 that my sister and I used to try and call in because they would have guests. That's where I actually asked David Eisenhower about President Nixon after his wife died.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so the start of that program happened, and then a douchebag reporter by the name of Tom Van Howe, who people in Grand Rapids know who he is, but guy almost ran me over a couple years later, but he came on and, announced it, and I was like, what the fuck? And then turned to MTV immediately, and it was like it was like a movie in a sense, because turning it to MTV, it was like it was primed and ready for me to watch that footage of Kurt Loder. Basically what happened that day is Kurt Loder says, Kurt Cobain tragically killed himself, and then they played Nirvana Unplugged on loop for a couple of days.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, and just for a good week after that, I was just so sad. Again, I wasn't the biggest Nirvana fan at the time, but when you're a junior in high school and you see a guy that, Kurt Cobain at the time was probably, 10 years older than me at the time, maybe, at the prime of his life, changing the musical landscape. Not many people can say they've done that over throughout history, and he did it. And yet, life was just he couldn't go on, and that was so sad. And I think the park that we're going to be visiting as well is the park where a couple days afterwards there was a big vigil that happened, and then Courtney Love, they had speakers up, and Courtney Love took that time to come on, jack off, thank you. Listen to me all somber, and then I call a guy a jack-off.
Right. I'm so moved, asshole.
Yeah, fucker. Anyway, it's, just her reading that suicide note and reacting the way she did. I think for as much as Courtney Love has made a lot of mistakes in her life, and she'd be the first to say that, I think that was the best thing she will probably ever do.
Yeah, I think that was the right thing to do, and I think she recognized how much people loved him and needed needed that. And I think because of her own mental health challenges and Kurt's, that she had an appreciation for those people who were going to be sort of tossed off the edge because Kurt made that choice.
And that is the weird thing about celebrity too. Like, even when Kurt was alive, the chances of like you and I not only interacting with him or becoming friends with him, those chances were minutely infinitesimal, and yet because of his music, we have an emotional connection with him that is, if you think about it on the face of it, is weird.
Well, it's more that it feels like not that I knew him, but that he knew me and he cared about me. Do you know what I mean? Like, he cared about the same things I cared about and wanted the world to be a better place like I did.
Yeah, I mean, because like he was, of the celebrities I followed at that age, he was like the first one that was, speaking out against like women, speaking out for women's rights,
gay rights, just generally leave people the fuck alone, and fighting authoritarianism and fascism. I really felt.
Yeah, I mean, like, he would do things like do concerts in a dress, and I think part of it was that he was more comfortable in a dress on stage, which makes sense. If you're up on stage for 2.5, 3 hours doing a show, you want to
be comfortable.
Be comfortable, yeah. And I can imagine with a dress, it would be comfortable not having jeans or anything like that on during a hot concert, especially if it was a show at like. If it was a show at like a smaller club, because like a stadium show or an arena show, I think there might be depending on the age of the arena, of course, there might be a better chance for cooling. And then of course, the more popular Nirvana got, I know that big bands like that do have like fans that they can strategically put on stage in order to stay cool like that. But when they were doing clubs.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, it was potentially more than that. It was potentially more than wanting just to be comfortable. Like, it can feel really good and subversive to wear the clothes that you want, even though they're not the clothes that are expected for you to be wearing. Even if you're not genderqueer or transgender or in other ways, like, there is something about the expression of the feminine and that being a thing that's enjoyable for people, even like the depiction of masculinity is really fun for me. I love getting dressed up in a very butch way. It feels good to me to express my gender in that way. So, and I'm not transgender or non-binary. I'm just, regular old woman.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean that's the thing with Kurt too. Even with the dress on, like guys that have done that in the past, in terms of musicians that have done that, sometimes did it for the joke aspect of it, and he did not do that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just what he wanted to fucking wear.
Yep. So yeah, and again, like we've mentioned before too, I mean, the seeing like the apartment where he wrote those Nirvana songs in Olympia, just again, just, it's okay to have a hero, but remember that the hero is just a person.
Yeah, and has the same concerns, everyday concerns that we all do about, where and how we live and the people that we love and what we're doing with our lives. We all have those same pressures.
Mm-hmm. All right, so it looks like we are almost to our destination. So what I think I will do right now is give you all a musical interlude, and when you hear us next, we are going to be on sacred ground. All right, we are in the neighborhood, and I'm already tearing up. Didn't realize how emotional it was going to be being here. Oh,
yeah, it's so strange to think of him living here. It's a very fancy neighborhood, right on Lake Washington. It's on the loop road that goes all around the lake. That's like beautiful.
Do you have your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, because we definitely need to take pictures. We were crossing the street to, I forgot the name of the park, but there's a park next door to his final house, and he used to come here and just sit.
And so we're going to go sit on the bench and look at
Say it
the
again.
view. We're going to go sit on the bench and look at the view that he would have been looking at. There's some gifts here already, some Blue Moon beer and some flowers. We didn't bring anything.
We brought ourselves. And this is a memorial bench. People from all over the world come here and see it, and I see the house now. Wow. Wow. This is really, really heavy, folks. Yeah. Someone left a marker. Someone left a marker. We again are here, so I'm gonna cut to a musical interlude and compose myself, and we'll be right back. All right, back. Definitely a little composed, and didn't get a super clear shot of the house. I mean, in a neighborhood like this, they build them that way. So,
It's a gorgeous old bungalowoid mansion, essentially. But it's very bungalow, very sort of Swiss bungalow looking.
something like that. And
Beautiful cedar shake roof.
yeah, I guess if I remember correctly, I guess it happened. There was a room above the garage where it happened, and I think we're looking at it now. Yeah,
It's just, maybe it's inappropriate, I don't know, but just want to say that if you're feeling alone and misunderstood, reach out to somebody.
yeah, it is Suicide Prevention Month, of course, and a couple weeks back on our Saturday episode, we did talk about like the wrestler Daphne, killing herself, unfortunately. So we have been trying to make a point this month of talking about that, because obviously, we are here at a monument of a place of what happens when you don't talk about it, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what was going on in his life and what would have made a difference, but I mean, Tim and I are always around and would love to hear from you. And there are other people in your life too, I'm sure. You just have to look for them and be open. Be open to the world, because there's a lot of good stuff out here, and it's worth experiencing as much of it as you can.
Yeah, just he made a tragic choice that day, and it happened, and for as much as everybody involved, especially his immediate family, would love to just rewind the clock, go back and make sure it didn't happen, we are here. And I think really the best way to honor his legacy is just live life.
Fuck shit up and have fun, I say.
Yeah. So kind of a somber moment here, folks, but again, like I said, this is a place that you have to visit. If you were affected by his music in any way, shape, or form, and you are in Seattle, you come pay your respects.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I've never done this. And many times I've been to Seattle, I've never sought this out. But it is very meaningful to be here.
Yeah, just I don't think this was the park where, because now that I think about it, because the park that Courtney Love did the whole reading the suicide letter thing, I think that was a different park in town.
Maybe it was the other park that's across the street.
It's possible, but I don't need to visit that, but just... Anyway, yeah, happy birthday, Tim. But this was important for me because, again, it is a reminder to be happy, to live life, to make the most of it as you can, because you don't know when it's going to end, no matter how much.
We don't know the alternative, right?
Yeah.
So as far as we know, this is all we got. So let's suck the marrow from it.
Damn right. So I think right now what we'll do is we'll go to another musical interlude here, but just once again, if you have a chance to come here to pay your respects, do so respectfully. Obviously, don't try and go onto the actual property where the house is. It is a private home, so don't do that. But you can. There is a nice park that, again, Kurt Cobain came to and sat and reflected and thought and just mellowed out. And
being here, you feel that sort of serenity that is possible to achieve in a beautiful natural setting.
Yeah. So. If you're listening to this and you are going through some struggles, and the topic that we talked about is maybe touching a nerve, like we said, take some time to talk to somebody if you are dealing with some troubles, because if he could come back, I think he would say, yeah, probably.
I missed out on that. He probably would say I missed out on some stuff that I didn't want to miss out on.
Yeah.
Especially because he had young kids.
Yeah, so a young kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, I think we will, like I said, cut to a musical interlude, so hang tight. All right, welcome back. We are back in our hotel room, hotel with an H, and we are just kicking back and relaxing after taking a nice stroll through parts of downtown Seattle. We went to Pike Place Market. Yeah, it was definitely a trippy place to be, that Pike Place Market. I mean, it does have the vibes of the early 1900s, the late 1800s. And in a lot of ways, that type of retail environment makes a lot more sense than how cities are set up today.
Doesn't it, though? And it allows small businesses to thrive instead of consolidating everything into one shop. And you could tell just how easy, I was just talking about this with my realtor, George, who's a friend of the show. Hi, George, if you're listening. And George and I were talking about the fact that, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I forgot what I was talking about.
About the centralized location of...
Oh, right. Yeah. How cities have changed. And it used to be that in every neighborhood you'd have a locksmith, a shoe repair place, a beauty salon, a barbershop, 5 or 6, businesses that every neighborhood had, cleaners, and those kinds of services we don't have anymore, like an electronics repair place. So a lot of those kinds of businesses don't exist anymore. And what is left in the cities, when you look at sort of redeveloped areas, what they have in them is restaurants, bars, coffee shops, and personal services like hair and waxing and massages, etc.
Yeah, I actually saw a YouTube video that kind of talked about the same things. About it was I forgot the channel, and later we can look for it. But this guy is essentially a major bike supporter, and he was making videos contrasting Europe traffic, how it is in Europe compared to how it is here, and the fact that the United States in 99% of the country is built for primarily a car related place. It makes it hard on everybody financially. especially the poorer people. The poorer people, the ones that get screwed when they don't have, like a strip mall type of place. Because what the guy in the video showed is that a lot of times those old like strip malls, like one-story strip malls and whatnot, those tend to always generally remain active, whereas you have areas where the major retail chain puts a store in, and then after 10 years it's a desert and it goes away, and then and then that city, of course, has nothing at that point. Whereas if one person goes out of business, like the person makes a key place, has a thing in a strip mall, and he's 75 and he retires and sells his business. True, that individual building may be gone for a little bit, but the other buildings are there to pay to keep everything up and running in terms of the utilities and all that, and it will eventually get filled.
Right. Yeah, and maybe it doesn't have to be strip malls, right? It could be places like Pike Street Market or Pike Place Market, or other, like we have some community halls in Portland for restaurants, and that works really well. That's a very European idea, this idea that you have a bunch of different restaurants and a big place to sit where you eat them. Mm-hmm. Other things about Europe that are so different is that they had a canal system before they ever had roads. They depended on canals. And where there are canal systems, there are paths, because there were mules pulling the canals down the canal streets. So now the canals still exist. They're not used for commerce, but the paths right next to them can be used by bicyclists and walkers to get all over the country without having to share the road, mm-hmm. which also means that cars can go faster because they don't have to share the road. So there was a definite difference. I did rent a car in England, and I terrified myself by driving around like I shouldn't have been driving around. It was so dangerous. And the roads there are really narrow. But anyway, when I was on the highways, they were fast. Very busy and very, very fast highways.
Yeah, like the Autobahn is like, 90, 100 miles an hour? You can go really fast there.
Yeah, you can go really fast in England, too. And, but then when you get into the cities where people are, it's much more human scale. Like there are little shops and, the existing medieval town. So, like, I went to Oxford and found the high street in Oxford, and it was great. It was, like, 2 miles long and full of different shops selling different stuff, doing different things. And I like that about Pike Place Market, and I like that when you can find it in Portland. Portland is in such a state of new development that a lot of neighborhoods, I think, are improving but feeling growing pains, and maybe have more people than they have services at this point.
And that ultimately is the problem in the United States, at least. I mean, you got some areas like, essentially your big cities, Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, that do invest in, like I was watching an old episode of Adam Ruins Everything, and one of them was a traffic episode, and the traffic planner in Los Angeles talked about how they ended up closing down some roads in Los Angeles to make it a pedestrian walkway and a park or something like that. And they found that the more spots like that you create, the more spots you give people to stay downtown to do things other than just shop, they're going to stay longer and they're going to spend more money.
Well, and during the pandemic, Portland did that in a number of places. So not only downtown, where they closed one whole street for, I think, 4 blocks, which is now it's full of tables and chairs, and it's a lovely pedestrian corridor. And it doesn't, I drive downtown whenever I go downtown. I pretty much drive unless I ride my bike, which I don't do very often. So I mostly drive downtown, and it hasn't affected traffic at all. And then they did similar things in other neighborhoods, but they were only temporary. But they really make sense. Like even when they had the street in Kenton closed, Denver, which is a busy street, mm-hmm. It's easy to go a block out of the way to avoid, and it's just so nice to be able to sit out and eat and not be right next to a street with cars on it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's proving that to your point, it's not going to be that much of an inconvenience here, because what I think is a good idea is not let's make us a bike country per se, because cars definitely have their benefits. I think
And not everybody can bike. I mean, lots and lots of people can't bike. Kids can't bike. Elderly people can't bike. Lots of people in the middle can't bike.
But if we do more of a hybrid focus in terms of, having, appropriate spaces for cars, but creating more space for people to, whether that be through, like we've talked about before, investing in public transit, or increasing, parks, walkways, closing specific roads to, do what we just talked about here. There are things that can be done to make it easier to lived in a downtown area, because from what I'm seeing here is like in the big cities, Portland, Seattle, it's like you can since you have that flexibility to be able to just hop on a train to go to the store or go to a Pike Place market and do all your shopping there, compared to a Grand Rapids, to where you do have to pretty much go out of your way to go to a store to do some shopping, it's just much, much easier. And, I just wish more cities in this country need to take advantage of that. And I know for some town, like a one-road town, obviously something like that's not going to be needed, but, Grand Rapids could have definitely spent a lot more on their public transit system, because it was a sin that public transit stops at 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I mean, that's just for commuters.
Yeah.
Public transit that ends at 6 is for well-paid commuters. It's not for people that need to get to and from their shitty job.
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, again, the point is you invest more in that stuff, you're going to give poor people more flexibility to be able to get, better paying jobs, to be able to shop at better places. And when that happens, that helps the economy,
Oh, well, poor people are the engine. I mean, the poorer you are, the more you contribute by percentage to the GDP. Maybe not to the GDP. I don't know about GDP. I don't know why I said that. What I mean, though, is basically every dollar you get, you have to spend to survive. So you're contributing 100% of your available cash to circulating in the economy. Wealthy people take their money out of the economy and invest it in various ways. So that consumer economy that we have built in America is built on people who don't make very much money.
Yeah, and the more you make the surviving that much of an imposition as it already is on poor people, in terms of trying to keep up a vehicle that should no longer be illegally on the road, in terms of going out of their way to get decent food, because food deserts are very much a thing. There's that perception that poor people just sit back and eat junk food all the time, and that is not the case. I mean, I remember in a neighborhood we lived in a food desert, and for their excuse of a vegetable section was kind of gross, and just it's the. We will never get into a spot where there's going to be true equality, but we can demand better, and we can keep fighting for a lot better, because the poor people in this country, the minorities in this country, the disadvantaged in this country, it's going to get to a point to where people are going to say enough. And we're already seeing a little bit of it. I mean, look at the states that, took back the unemployment benefits. And this is my birthday celebration, folks. I hope you're enjoying it. Look at the states that took away the employment benefits. Word came out that people are still not taking jobs, and good for them. Because now is the time to where if you have a little patience, if you can grit your teeth through some of this, I think if people in our positions, the poor folks, can fight back a little bit harder, maybe we can get some more equity. Because look what happened to Amazon. All of a sudden, Amazon is now offering to fully pay the college scholarships of their employees. They didn't do that before.
And wages are improving. I mean, you can look at advertisements all the time that are hiring at $15 an hour before they need to. Like, it will be minimum wage in Oregon soon, but $15 an hour. I've seen $18 an hour for, which is closer to what things should be paid, you know. Still nowhere near being able to afford a place to live in Portland.
Yeah, $15 an hour is not going to get you any apartment. You know, it's not like back in the day, back in Grand Rapids. Like, I had a studio apartment for $250 a month in the 90s. How many people would, you know, like, take out their own grandmother for a studio apartment for that cost? Because I can imagine now, if I looked at rent at that particular apartment, that studio apartment Grand Rapids is probably now around $1,000 to $1,500. I wouldn't doubt it, and it's not worth that at all. It wasn't worth $250.
I bet it's not 1,000. It's still in Grand Rapids, you know.
Have you met the Dutch people in Grand Rapids?
No.
Oh man, they
Like Antwerp there.
I've met a lot of people from Grand Rapids that know how to strangle some pennies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also to the neighborhood I lived in, the Heritage Hill neighborhood, because we've been in other neighborhoods, and you have a rough idea of what the Heritage Hill neighborhood is without being there, you know, the type of houses and whatnot. But because they're the older houses, the more well upkept houses, antique houses near the Frank Lloyd Wright House in Grand Rapids, there are definitely landlords that, you know, will take advantage of that.
Got you. Well, so if you think about somebody making $15 an hour, they're working 40 hours a week. They're bringing home how much a month? $2,400 before taxes and other deductions. And so if they're paying $1,000 a month in rent, they're paying more than 50% of their take-home pay in rent, one single expense. That doesn't account for utilities, healthcare costs, dental costs. You know, my gosh, should people have dental care? Like, it's very expensive.
Like, how is that? Yeah, dental care too. Like, how is that optional? You know?
Right. Why isn't that like medical care? What kind of decision have we made as a society that we don't care about people's teeth, but we care about people's health? Like, we didn't know that much about dentistry when Medicare started. I mean, I think we knew some things, but people didn't regularly go to the dentist back in the day. Like, I'd say my grandparents probably never really went to the dentist.
But admittedly, they didn't have to deal with the type of foods that we did now.
They were much healthier than I am, for sure, just because of the way that they lived and how they grew up, and the options they had available to them were all healthy ones. It was like, you want something? Walk 3 miles to the store. Okay, you want something? You need to work to earn money to buy that thing. Like, you know, you're just always active and always eating beans and cornbread, basically. So
Yeah. Yeah, not, hey, Mom, get some Snickers on the way to the store.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, too. Even $15 an hour, I mean, if we're talking, like, a person that, you know, is, like, in terms of, like, responsibility, they're not, if they are sexually active, they're not, you know, they're going out of their way to make sure they don't have kids and whatnot, and if their only financial responsibility is still their own, $15 an hour is still not enough to get an apartment, and it sucks that the last time I could, like, we may have been the last generation to where you could, with that low amount of money, live on your own.
Live on your own with one person working a minimum wage job.
Yeah, and you can't do that today. Like, today, you would have, it's like mandatory to get a roommate, and a roommate is fine if you find the right person, of course, but not everybody wants that. Not everybody should have to deal with that. I'm sorry, you know, people do deserve alone time. And if somebody is a person that does feel they want to live a solitary lifestyle, damn it, I'm sorry. I don't think that should be unattainable.
I don't either. I think people should be able to live alone if they want to, or just with their family if they want to.
Yes, and you get some people, well, if they just save their money and pay for it. Look what's happening. Take a breath and don't listen to the corporate propaganda you hear. Things are bad.
I mean, it's just the kind of person who says that poor people just need to work harder and pull up their bootstraps, come from a place of privilege. I refuse to believe they don't. Or they've been very hurt.
So what I also see from people is they don't want anybody else to get anything they didn't get, because they are so hurt by the way they've been treated, maybe by their family, definitely by society. And so
it's, to me, it's like people want to act like they're doctors. Why do I say that? Doctors, when they are first starting and they get out of med school and whatnot, they have essentially a probationary period that, you know, allows them to have long hours, but those long hours are spent, you know, with another surgeon kind of training them up to the point to where they can be on their own.
And they do get paid.
And they do get paid, but, you know, people think that, you know, stuff, you know, they want to think that, you know, their position is the same as a doctor. I mean, the doctor, that's part of how you become a doctor, and that's part of the process. That's not something like, you know, like I'll bring up an example of me, my writing. Back in the day when I wrote the first book, I wrote it longhand. And now with the word processor, I won't touch a pen if I don't have to, you know, and it's not because I don't have the ability of writing it longhand. It's just, why? You know, why would you do that? And
so, sorry, how does that relate?
What were you talking about again? I forgot.
We were talking about poor people, and I was saying...
Oh, the doctor thing, yeah. It's just... You don't know poor people's circumstances. People that, you know, say poor people should pull them up by the bootstraps. You clearly are ignorant, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally.
I think hurt or angry, you know, they what I hear a lot is that they, you know, I had to do without. It was good enough for me. It's good enough for them. I didn't have that. I didn't have those opportunities. I didn't have scholarships. I had to walk uphill to school both ways, 10 miles. That kind of attitude is...
Like poor people shouldn't have the internet. Just go drop a paper application in. I don't even think McDonald's or Burger King have paper applications.
Anybody has paper applications anymore.
Yeah, so internet is a public utility, one, you know, where that's a common thing you'll hear, why are they having that? And another thing, too, in the 80s, President Reagan, of all people, signed into law this program that essentially gave poor people that did not have the financial ability to have their own phone, gave them a phone. And, you know, up to the Obama, in the Obama administration, the program was expanded for very basic cell phone service, because again, the cell phone is not a luxury anymore. We're not talking about something that, you know, you're carrying that big box in your car or something like that. It's not like Paulie Dangerously back in wrestling when he brought the cell phone to the ring and would hit people with it. It's not like that. A cell phone is very much a necessity, and for most people has replaced their home phone. So someone saying poor people shouldn't have that, fuck you. Now, having said that, if someone was having trouble paying the rent, but they had enough money every year for the brand new iPhone, then I would say maybe look at your priorities. But that's a different situation than they shouldn't have that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's just irresponsibility, and that's going to be punished by the universe the way that it is. And, you know, Lord knows I've been through that situation enough times that you see the cycle. It doesn't take much when you're living on the edge, when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're just servicing your debt. It's stressful, and stress creates cortisol, and cortisol is very bad for your health. So you want to try to decrease the amount of cortisol in your system by not being stressed out. So then you get health problems, other emergencies that crop up and can completely derail you. And it doesn't just... And then what do you do? How do you go from absolute zero to something without somebody helping you? I don't know that you can go from absolute zero to something without somebody, whether it's the government or a friend or whoever, saying, here's a hand up. And people get those without realizing they got a hand up, you know?
People have this weird thing about not accepting charity, and I get not abusing that, but you know, if you are truly in need of the help and you use that help for a positive benefit, And ultimately, you pay it forward somewhere down the line too, which is optional. You don't have to necessarily pay it forward. But paying it forward could just be, being more success. Like if someone helped you buy a car, you have a new car thanks to that person helping you out, and you may be the one responsible for the payments, but like if your parent is the one that co-signed a car loan for you, that they helped you out.
They seriously helped you out. And if you don't have that person who can co-sign something, loan you $100, feed you dinner when you're hungry, it makes it so difficult to keep going. And I'm saying this as a person who has those kinds of supports.
Yeah, the country has to realize that, we are a community. In terms of beliefs, we do gotta, we are a community. What happens to one person happens, what affects one person affects us all. And because it's like, if for example, when it comes to police treatment of minorities, if white people are not the ones standing up, what's going to stop the police one day, depending on who may be in office, from saying, why don't you start going after them too? You know what I mean? The people that are not saying anything now. And yeah.
Yeah, I think what we've had a couple of popular movements recently, and we definitely have had anti-war movements in our history, both for the Iraq War, Desert Storm, Vietnam, etc.
Yeah.
And it really feels like poor people need to get together and organize for themselves, but the constant problem is that we're all stretched so thin and everybody's already so stressed out trying to survive. How do you then organize for collective action? And it's been done, and I'm sure it can be done. I think Portland is a place that it could be done now. And we saw some of that with the rent reforms in Portland. So there's lots of things landlords can't do now and lots of things they have to do now that weren't required before.
Yeah.
And that's because Chloe Udaly won a seat on the city council, and she comes from a poor background. So I think if we see more success stories, because we've got more helps and supports in place, which I feel like we do, if you know how to access them. As a poor person who maybe wants to go to college, I feel like there are supports there if you know how to get them. And so sometimes people just need an advocate, somebody to just take their hand, sit with them, and say, this is how this works.
Like you did with me, going back to college, because in 2018, I did apply at PCC, got accepted, of course, and, didn't follow through on that for various reasons, of course, but, you helped me out with that.
Yeah, and if you don't have that, it's just like when I was becoming a lawyer, there are no lawyers in my family. I was the first person to go to law school in my family, and as far as I know, there could have been a judge way back. I don't know.
Beauregard Baldwin.
Yes, Judge Beauregard Baldwin. And so for me, it was like difficult creating a professional persona because I didn't have that around to model. Mm-hmm. And so it's those mentors that I had in law school, those people who weren't related to me, who just cared, who helped me forge that professional persona. But, that's a thing too, that unless you're exposed to something, you may not even think of as an option.
And that's why it is important for us all to support each other if we can. Realistically. Because, again, what happens to one person, what affects one person affects us all.
That's right, and a little kindness goes a long way.
Yeah. Just make sure that you don't crowd around me in public. Man, Seattle, the people here just don't know personal space. They really don't.
Well, they have a different sense of it. You would really suffer in Asia, probably, because in terms of number of people per square inch, it's really on a completely different level than the States. Mm-hmm. And this, too, compared to Chicago, not as busy. I've never been to New York. I'm sure it's the same way.
Yeah, I've been to Chicago. Chicago is probably comparable in size to Seattle. I mean, not exact, of course, but and I don't know, maybe it's just a Midwest type of thing. I just still remember like the sidewalks being bigger. It felt like, I don't know.
But it's so funny. Chicago is one of my least favorite places. I have grown to love it because I've known some people from Chicago, and so I like the Chicago feeling of those people. But as a city, when I go there, I feel like somebody's just going to run up behind me and smack me on the head with a lead pipe. Like, it just feels like such a dangerous city for me, and I don't know why. It's funny.
No, I mean, for me, the time I was there with my sister in 2001, we toured. We went there and toured like some of the places where they filmed the Blues Brothers. So, like and the Fugitive, like they had some of the same location shots and whatnot. But I mean, I loved Chicago. I don't know if I would want to live there, especially because they have no trees. My God, they don't call it the Windy City as a joke, folks.
Yeah, I really don't like Chicago.
Yeah.
It's a very popular place for conferences because it's slab in the middle of the country, and it's a big airport hub, but it is not, I don't get excited about going to Chicago.
It's a place you visit, not a place you stay.
I try to avoid visiting it. Sorry, all you Chicagoans.
Well, we just lost Illinois.
Well, no, people should be glad. Like, if I heard people saying, like, Portland sucks, I'd just be like, that's so good that they're not coming here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but my God.
Speaking of, so we are staying in the Belltown Inn in Seattle, which is in Belltown, which is just a little bit north, basically, of Pike Place and the Pier in Seattle. And it's a really great neighborhood. It feels a little transitional. I'm not sure what the story is, but we have enjoyed staying here. It's very close to everything. We've been able to get around. But this morning, as we were taking a little siesta, there was a guy outside the window screaming, Seattle sucks. I hate Seattle. I'm going back to Miami. So, everybody's opinion of a city is going to be different. I love Seattle. I think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, I think some people are just meant for certain types of weather. And for me, I love this type of weather. I mean, California, I was kind of miserable just because it was way too hot and I was way too married. But, But yeah, I mean, for what we have in Portland, I think is perfect. Honestly, it's like never really too hot, never really too cold. If it does snow, it's not here for long at all. I never had a problem with snow back in Grand Rapids. Snow is fun, but snow is not so fun when, it goes up to my knees and it's going horizontally because the wind is going so bad and it's 10 degrees.
And you have to keep doing your regular life. What I love about snow in Portland is it only lasts a couple of days, but for those couple of days, it's like the Wild West. Anything could happen. You can take your skis out on the street. Everybody's like drinking, day drinking, and
fucking everywhere. No.
And
fucking in the streets.
It's just a good time. It's not like that when you have to go to school and go to work and figure out how you're going to get your car unstuck and Portland I think does it right.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about black ice. We don't have to worry about salt trucks or being. The snow shovels are the worst because if you forget they would alternate on odd and even days what side of the road they would ultimately plow, and if you happen to forget, then they would love to push all the snow onto your car.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to dig it out.
Yeah.
Because the snow doesn't melt.
Yeah. So thanks God. No.
Well, it's like in Portland, we say the rains are here. The rains came on such and such date, or, it's sort of like that with the snow in Grand Rapids, isn't it? Like you get a big snow and it's like, oh, that snow will be here until spring. Yep. And there's about 2 weeks of great weather in late March, early April, and 2 weeks of great weather in late September, early October in Michigan. The rest just fucking sucks. It's so weird that people live there. It's so hot in Tennessee. I'm like, I don't understand why people live there.
Grand Rapids is a nice enough town. It's I mean, where I was born, so it'll always have a special place in my heart, of course. Was it the town for me? No, because I think you do have to find the right place for you. And just Grand Rapids wasn't it, Sacramento wasn't it, Portland has been it. And just, yeah, because even if you're essentially a misanthropic recluse like me, every now and then you still want to go out, and being able to have, basically in Portland, there are more places that speak to me, that I can go to and have fun compared to other places that I've been to. And again, the weather, gotta love it.
And I just love people's expression in Portland. Self-expression is the thing that makes you feel safe to express yourself. Like, that's what I think about Portland. And my own privilege, right, is that I feel very safe in Portland, both like physically safe, but also like emotionally safe to be myself and not have no one attack me for it, and know that if anybody did, that bystanders would stand up for me. And I really feel like that in Portland.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember a few years back, it happened a couple miles from my apartment. It was national news. There was gentlemen, every city has them, the loudmouth, ignorant bastard that rides public transit that starts yelling at people. And he started yelling at a couple of Muslim girls. And on the positive side, there were people that stood up for those girls. On the negative side, the guy had a knife, and we know what happened. People ended up dead at that point. But to your point, that was an extreme example. But to your point, Portland is the type of place that you will have people stand up and say, that is not called for. That is not. You don't do that in this town.
Even just to distract them so somebody can get away, or like. I've had great interactions just on the street with strangers in Portland. I would say much more positive interactions than negative interactions.
I would say so myself. And again, like, you've seen me walk in public, with my anxiety being what it is. I tend to just be laser focused on getting to where I need to go. And yet in Portland, I don't necessarily feel that level of anxiety. I mean, even from day one, it helped with the ladies with the painted chest and all the drag queens the day I arrived. But it's still, I mean, if you are a Portland resident and you love Portland, you know what I'm talking about. But it's a tough thing to explain, because it does feel home, it does feel right, and not that
maybe other people feel that way in Grand Rapids or in Knoxville.
Most certainly,
they show up there and they're like, oh my god, this is where I belong. Or they were born there and they're like, this is where I belong, this is where I'm happy. And more power to them. I'm not saying everybody needs to move to Portland, please don't. But I'm just saying I found that in Portland, and I really noticed it when I moved across the river to Vancouver. It just doesn't have the same feel, and really wanted to get back to Portland because that's where I had chosen to live. And I'm excited that I'm back in Portland now.
Me too, yeah. I was in a spot where I had to move to Vancouver and move in with Kim, and I very much, to my dying day, I will be eternally grateful. And that she was able to help me out in a tight spot by letting me have a place to live. Vancouver, though, is made for people that do have cars. It just is.
Yep.
And as someone who did not have a car, that really limited what I could do in that town. And just for me, I don't like cars. I just don't. I mean, I can drive them, and I'm sure at some point again I will get my license and drive a vehicle again. I have no doubt about it. But I much prefer not to. That's why another reason why I love Portland, and I know I've talked about like the mayor of Portland in the past, and I don't like the guy, but I don't think he should be publicly doxxed like somebody did on Twitter the other day. There is no call for that whatsoever. And two, come election time, there may be another choice. Like we supported Sarah in a round last time for mayor. That did not work out. Hopefully, I think, the numbers showed she had a real chance if the other person...
The Teresa Rayford write-in campaign wasn't happening?
Yeah, if that nonsense was not around, we would have a new mayor, and, I don't know how much change would have been done by now. Probably not much, because it does take time to make...
It does, but the response to the pandemic probably would have been totally different, and the response to the street protest last summer probably would have been very different, and the whole police situation, etc.
Yeah. So, anyway, I love Portland. Let's talk about something positive.
So we're in Seattle, and it's become a little love letter to Portland, and that's the great thing about traveling. Lots of things happen for me when I travel, and one of them is that I always get really excited to return to the city that I love. But also, I just feel like it relieves some of that day-to-day just to be in a new place. Or a different place for a little while, and gives you a little bit of fresh energy. So hopefully we have done that for ourselves by our little trip to Seattle this weekend.
This is definitely a memory I will never forget. I'll tell you that. Just being able to experience what we experienced today on sacred ground. I'll never forget that.
Yep, very good day.
Yeah. And for me, I guess the reason why I felt I had to go there, and the reason why I felt I needed to share that on my birthday episode, because you would think normally a birthday episode is just going to be all fun, happy stories. But, I've been open about my struggles with depression, I guess. And I guess for me, this is just a reminder,
Reminder of what?
Of choosing life. Because suicide, like if I really wanted to do it, could be done. Anybody can say that, but it's just a matter of keep fighting. Just what I will never forget about what we experienced today was just, and we listened back to it a couple of times, but just how peaceful it was. And I think what made me cry more than anything was just thinking, I wish I could have gone back. Everybody said that. Courtney would wish that and whatnot, but it's just like, it didn't need to happen, but because it happened, good can come from it. And
I'm sure good has come from it.
Yeah. And I think for me, especially with the last couple of years being what they were, the fact that, I've had this opportunity, I think I'm very grateful that it happened.
And like you say, you never know you never know what is right around the next corner. You really, really don't.
Because, we talked, this show, in terms of what we did to the places that we visited with, in regards to Kurt Cobain, we opened up the show at the apartment he lived in Olympia, Washington, and that apartment, with my credit report, I could probably just barely get in there. It wasn't a nice place, but it had history. And it wasn't more than 4 years later, he's living in a nice place off of Lake Washington. You don't know what's going to happen. And I think, too, it's just important for me to just keep fighting. That means, for me, one big thing is, continuing to put effort into the show, and also continuing on with my writing. I haven't announced this publicly yet, but my first book, I am going to remove it from the Smashwords catalog. It will no longer be for sale because I am rewriting it.
That's right. You're rewriting it with a completely different process this time.
Yes. Up to this point with this rewrite, I've been what writers call a pantser, the type of person that writes off the seat of their pants. I was the type that, starting the rough draft, the first draft was what I wrote. I did not outline at all. I resisted it for the longest time. until college. And screenwriting class, and I don't know if the teacher cared for me or not. I don't care, but because you can tell when people get annoyed. But the one thing she did taught was how they outline in TV shows when they do the script, because you can't be a pantser and work in Hollywood. You have to go by an outline, just because time-wise you can't sit there for 3 days wondering what the next scene's going to be. You have to figure that out now to pound out that script to get it turned in within a week or less. And what they do in Hollywood,
because everybody else has got to do their jobs too. So the costumers and the props and the production and the gaffers and the production artists, all of those people have to be working on it simultaneously.
yes. So what they do is do what they call a beat sheet. And what is a beat sheet? It's like, if you open up with a scene of two people talking in a kitchen, and then one person walks out of the room, and then the camera follows them into that room, that's the second beat. If it then cuts to another scene with completely new people, that's a third beat. If those people walk into a different room, it's you get the concept of beats. It's just same thing with a novel, just working out the various beats, plot points, the beats that you have in the particular chapter. So right now I'm in chapter 9 of the outline process, and then once the whole outline is complete, then I start work on the novel. But the novel writing process, once I do begin that, will be so much faster, because I got the outline. This is a blueprint. This is, like, what engineer is just going to, order all the supplies and then build it just by the seat of his pants, And like, now to be clear, with writing, you can get away with being a pantser. But let's be honest, the outliners are the ones that are probably going to get work more often, because by outlining, by doing what they are doing, they're going to be a lot more efficient and be able to create a lot more content.
Yeah, I mean, I think that writing, because it's something that we all learn to do when we're very young, and it's a relatively cheap medium, and utilizes language, which, humans are uniquely, who knows, doing. I think a lot of people use writing for self-expression in a way, and then so you can use writing for self-expression, but you also use writing as tools, maybe to tell a story or to give some information, and that's a different kind of writing process, I think, and I think it calls for a formal process where you're actually following a plan to accomplish something. That's what I think sets it apart, sets professional writing away from I'm just writing.
And that's the for people that do have the few people that do have copies of Time to Play the Game, the first version of it, I mean, that was a pantser novel. Let's call it what it is. I love the idea. I will go to my grave knowing that idea is a great idea that, if executed properly, will be successful. How successful, I don't know. But, that what people currently have is just a draft. And, I'm, finally at a point where it something finally clicked to where it's like, I get it, I can go ahead and redo, because I was resisting for the longest time. I was like, I'll just focus on the second book and blah, but the first book does me so much. It was the first novel I completed. I mean, I hand wrote the damn thing, and then I finished like I was on the last chapter handwriting it, and it was like I knew I had to finish it that night, and I did, and I stayed up to about 3:00 in the morning, and then I just started like crying, a happy cry, just like, yeah, running around the house, like I was like Rocky in the montage, training montage.
Oh, nice.
Because I mean, anybody that has written any sort of nonfiction or fiction writing, but we're talking a book-sized thing, anybody that has done that, regardless of the quality, I applaud you, because that takes work. So anyway, Anchor here is letting me know that we are reaching the 1 hour limit, because we're the beauty of Anchor. The reason I love that we're with them now is that we do have the ability to do some remote recording. We're recording on our phone, but they do have 1 hour limit, so we'd have to stop the recording here, and we're going to give you another musical interlude, and then we'll be back. How's that sound?
That sounds great. Yeah, we'll have a brief conclusion to this birthday weekend spectacular, so stay tuned.
Yes, when you hear us next, we are going to be talking to a dear, dear friend of mine that is as close to a brother as I will ever have, but I've never met him in person.
Isn't that amazing? I can't wait to meet him.
Yes. All right, so kick back, relax, enjoy this musical interlude, baby. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now 1:21 in the morning as we speak. The professor and I are in a vehicle heading back to Portland. We are still in downtown Seattle as we speak, but I think both of us were thinking of our bed like our mother's wombs.
Yep, we were both like avoiding going to sleep because we knew we weren't going to get good sleep. So we decided, hey, why not drive back while there's no Seattle City traffic and there's no traffic on the interstate, and we weren't sleepy anyway, so here we go.
Yeah, and overall I had a really, really fun trip, I'll say that.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear it.
Fifth Avenue Theater, ooh. But yeah, just I mean, we talked about this privately before, and listen to me stutter already. It's like 1:22, so forgive me, folks. But it's like Seattle is a great place to visit. I don't know if I would want to live here.
I agree completely. I think Seattle is a fun place to come to the big city. Like, it's big enough that it feels like a big city, but it's smaller than Chicago. So I enjoy it as a city. I just am not a city person. I'm way more of a country person, though I do enjoy both.
Yes, the city has made you soft, right?
The city has made me soft.
But yeah, I mean, I'm like, my goodness, like my feet are like so soft and like soft and everything like that. Like I can't walk outside in bare feet. I mean, you've seen me, I think, walk out in bare feet.
I love to be barefooted outside in the grass.
Yes, so
I just ran a red light.
Whoops. Well, we're on the highway now, so this birthday weekend is coming to a close here, and I wanted to thank you all for listening to my 45th birthday celebration.
45th birthday celebration podcast, oh yeah.
Yes, and we even sing for you here, folks. So, yeah, it's 1:24 right now. I'm kind of tired. We did tentatively have plans to meet up with a friend of mine tomorrow, but those are going to have to be rescheduled for a later date because sleep is better.
Sleep is always better.
Yeah, so overall, Seattle, definitely a great town. And like, if honestly too, like if I even got like super rich, I don't even know if I would move then, you know?
Oh, I wouldn't move to Seattle if I got super rich. I would just be really rich in Portland.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know, just something about this place. It's too big for my taste, and I'm generally a city boy.
Yeah, it's just a slight bit too big.
Yeah, so, so Seattle, though, we're driving by T-Mobile Park, as we said at the beginning of the show here. That's where WrestleMania 19 occurred. History, professional wrestling history, all along the highway.
All along the highway.
Yeah, I mean, we passed by the Tacoma Dome as well, and that has had a few memorable wrestling events that have happened there.
Indeed.
Yes, so anyway, just wanted to wrap it up here. Once again, thank you all for listening to my 45th birthday celebration. As anybody that's listened to the show for any amount of period knows, we can go all over the place, and we went all over the place on this particular show, especially with the sacred grounds that we went to, especially the one in Seattle, with Kurt Cobain's last home and whatnot. So we're definitely all over the place, but again, fun.
Yeah, had a really great time.
All right, so for the third time, we're going to wrap it up. So for real this time, thank you all for listening every Wednesday and Saturday. We're going to have something to entertain your ear holes in this podcast space. We bid you adieu.
Adieu.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.